Thank you for unmuting me. Or, I was fortunate enough to be the person who was on the committee and read Ted Ergen's nomination. And so I get to officially announce this award. Ted is on the board of the foundation that Steve and Tanya created that centers on cures and treatments for Duchenne muscular dystrophy that they continue to run today. And I was particularly interested in this nomination because I've spent the last 22 years working at a children's hospital, and I've repeatedly witnessed families whose lives are forever changed when their child or children receive an adverse diagnosis. And life dishes out challenges to us all, and it is particularly hard when it affects our children. So I was curious to learn more about Tanya, and whose son Gus was diagnosed, I think, about 13 years ago. And it's a daunting genetic disease, and I wanted to understand how she and her family were facing this unwanted development in their lives. And what we on the ward committee would like you all who are gathered here today, friends, family, and of Greg and Tanya's and others, friends and families of the New York City Outward Bound Center, is to kind of bear witness to someone who brings a spirit to the adversity that is Duchenne that is just huge. And we saw someone that reminded us of Greg and thinking kind of audaciously and making connections and inspiring those she meets and opening her heart again and again to concentric groups of circles of people and causes to tackle when she sees something that needed addressing, and all the effort towards making the world a better place. Her vision in creating the Hope for Gus Foundation was to benefit those who are grappling with this disease, not just her own family, but to raise money and awareness to change the course of Duchenne for all who have it. And her idea for fundraising was not just a trek in her home hills of New Hampshire, but to the base camp of Mount Everest. And from what I hear, she was not an alpine trekker ever before, so it was audacious. And the fundraising trek is called Everest to End Duchenne. And it was not just an audacious location, but also a symbol of the impact of the disease on the boys with Duchenne. And it was here that she witnessed local Nepalese boys with Duchenne, what they were experiencing, and then began advocating for their needs and raised funds for their care and housing and treatment and schooling. And similarly, she witnessed how the guides who were assisting the treks were getting treated, and resolved to establish a trekking company that had their welfare front and center. And this trekking company raises more money for Duchenne. And one of the trekkers, I think, has gone on to fund teachers and supplies in her guides' village. So we recognized in Tanya repeatedly tackling the challenges that life presents, was kind of in the same manner of living boldly and lighting sparks and making the world a better place that so embodied Greg, our friend and colleague. And so we saw her connecting to people, to causes, and causes to resources. And we also saw a connection to the loving care that Greg provided to his wife, Kathy, when she developed Alzheimer's, to Tanya's work, also caring for people with Alzheimer's. So we're sharing a few photos of the projects Tanya is engaged in, and we'd also like to share a little clip of one of the treks to the Everest Base Camp, so you too can feel the sparks, and that maybe will help you face challenges in your lives, but also to recognize the work Tanya and her family are engaged in.
It was quite hard to believe that base camp was just a single day away. The bonds were growing within our team, and together we were pushing through altitude sickness with the singular goal of making it to the base camp. You can feel it. In a place so beautiful with so many amazing people, and the remnants of Buddhism, if there was a place with the power to find miracles, it felt like it was here.
This is the Everest to End Duchenne 2022 team, and we just made it to base camp today after 9 days of trekking. This is our flag with over 800 names of patients who have either passed away from Duchenne or are living with Duchenne. And it's, I think everybody on our team would agree that this trek is a little bit of a metaphor for living with Duchenne and just a little tiny taste of what it might be like. You know, our muscles have been hurting sometimes not. Kids with Duchenne, their muscles hurt every day from the time that they're born. You know, we're at base camp at about 54,000 meters. The air is very thin and it's hard to breathe sometimes. Kids with Duchenne eventually have tremendous difficulty breathing because muscles help their lungs expand and their muscles are constantly breaking down, and eventually they need help breathing. And of course the heart is a muscle, so that too breaks down. So this is the smallest team we've ever had, but I think it's the first time the entire team has ever made it to base camp. We didn't lose anybody. So small but mighty. And we're gonna read all of these names, over 800. And just, you know, send the names off into the wind over the rooftops of the world, sending a message and a prayer of hope for every single person who lives with Duchenne or has passed away from it.
So now I'd like to pass the Zoom spotlight to my friend and colleague, Jeannie, who's with Tanya and the family in their hometown of Peterborough, New Hampshire, and introduce you to the family.
Thank you, Thea. Hi, everybody. Before I say my words, I just want to give a shout out to Fletcher Maggs, who made that documentary about the trip. He was a high school student and actually won a Filmmakers Award for it. So it's a great video if you have a chance to watch it. So in addition to presenting Tanya with the CAFH Award, we just wanted to be able to present to you, Tanya, something physical as a token of our appreciation for the work you do and the way in which you do it. So after great deliberation, we agreed and landed on the idea of a wooden spoon. Very humble wooden spoon. So it became a tradition that actually began with Greg presenting us a wooden spoon on a river trip that we did with him in Colorado, the folks on the committee. And from the stories that were told that night and from the many wooden spoons and bowls in Greg's house in the Adirondacks, you could tell that a hand-carved wooden spoon really meant something to him. One reason I think is because, like Outward Bound, there's something very elemental about a spoon. He appreciated the obvious connection to nature that the wood represented, but he also appreciated the craftsmanship, one of the 4 pillars of Outward Bound that goes into carving a spoon. So the humble spoon is also a symbol of nourishment, right? And by extension, community, and how communities nourish us and how they nourish and how we nourish each other. So coming together to break bread and share a meal is a symbol of another Outward Bound pillar, compassion, which is part of our motto. So despite the commemorative role in the Greg Farrell Award, this spoon is not meant to be precious. Okay, Greg would want you to put it to good use. He would want you to stir up some good trouble with it. And he would want you to use it to conjure up some creativity and community and compassion. So Tanya, we chose this particular camp spoon for you, knowing that Steve has a kitchen full of appliances that he uses to conjure magical meals. Yours is meant to fit in the pocket of your favorite trekking pants or backpack. So take it with you, stir up some good trouble, which I know you will do, and you have done and will continue to do. So I present you this spoon. It was carved by a local craftsman named Phil, lives in Harrisville, New Hampshire, but coincidentally, very much a part of our global Outward Bound family. He and his son both worked for Outward Bound in Zimbabwe.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you so much.
And your check. So you're welcome. So Tanya, would you like to say a few words?
Right now? Okay, I'm just gonna go into the other room.
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, be right back.
All right. 1 minute.
Yay for Tanya. Yay.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay? Yes, everyone can hear me? You can shut the door, hon.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Well, I'm a little bit overwhelmed, even though I knew that, you know, this ceremony was coming, just like to hear more about the kind of person Greg Farrell was, and how much you all loved him. It just, I'm just so grateful that you saw just even a little bit of Greg in the things that I've been doing. And I also just wanted to express my condolences to the selection committee, because I know how much you all cared for Leah. And I never met her, but I heard many great things about her. And I know what it's like to lose a dear friend. So just wanted to start off with saying that, and I'm really sorry for your loss. So I was so surprised when Leah showed up on my TV and Zoom, because we thought we were watching like a little recital of my friend Ted's kids, and then there was Leah presenting the award. And you know, I was just so shocked, because I wasn't sure that anybody kind of outside my little community in Duchenne and my little community in Peterborough knew much about what I was doing, you know. And it was just so humbling to actually be chosen for this award from such an amazing list of nominees. It's mind-blowing to me, who are all doing really, really important work and leaving the world a better place, like Greg. So before I talk about Hope for Gus a little bit, I just wanted to say thank you to my husband, Steve Dreyer, who I couldn't do anything that I do without him. And I'm getting all the glory, but he's the one at home with Gus and the kids when I'm in Nepal. And, you know, he's the one, you know, teaching full time, you know, while I'm working from home. And just, you know, his support throughout all of this has been incredible. So thanks, honey. So when Gus was diagnosed when he was 4 years old with Duchenne, we were told that there was no cure, very few treatments, and not much that we could do at that time. So, you know, as a parent, that was incredibly devastating to hear, and it wasn't acceptable to us. So we started doing research, and I decided, well, we're going to start this foundation, and we're going to see if we can raise money, and we're also going to spread awareness. Duchenne is considered an orphan disease, so even though 1 in 3,500 boys is diagnosed with it worldwide, it's considered an orphan disease because not enough people have it to make it profitable. So we kind of had our work cut out for us, and we've been really lucky to play a small part in funding medical research all around the world, and we were able to have Gus in a clinical trial for 4 years. But when you have a child with this kind of chronic illness and disease, it really feels like you're operating in a bubble a lot of the time, caring for his complex needs and, at the same time, just, trying to raise money. And for me, I was always wondering if I was doing enough or what else is possible, it's always in the back of my mind. And then in 2015, I had this like harebrained idea that I was going to go to Everest, even though I wasn't really a hiker. And I told my husband, and he was like, okay, I'll support you, but I'm not too sure about this. And so Everest and Duchenne kind of formed itself in my brain. I liked the sound of it. I put together a team of people from all different places, and everybody raised their own amount of money. And we went to Everest for the first time. And that first year we raised $50,000. And it was really supposed to be just a one-time deal. But once I got to Nepal and I saw just, the beauty of the place, but how much need there was there in various, different areas, the Duchenne community, the guide and porter community. And also that was our most successful fundraiser that we'd had for quite a while, because we're a small foundation. I thought, well, maybe we can do it again. So Winning this award, like I said, I felt like I was operating in a bubble, and then I did Everest and Duchenne, and I still didn't feel like, I don't really like to put myself out there and say, hey, look what I'm doing, and but winning this award actually makes me feel seen. It really makes me feel seen, and it makes me feel like maybe what I'm doing is making some kind of a difference. Being honored with this award has given me the confidence to apply for a $30,000 grant through PTC Therapeutics. And their criteria is the winner will be somebody who meets an unmet need in the Duchenne community. So I'm applying based on our work in Nepal, and I'm hoping to launch a brand new program called Mission DMD Nepal. And I would use that award money. Well, I'm launching the program anyway, but that money would just be a huge help in pushing it forward. I've been working with the DMD community in Nepal since 2015, our first trek. And every time we go, we give a percentage of the money that we raise to that home outside of Kathmandu, and for them to use as they wish. And so those funds since 2015 had been put towards building a brand new home for these boys. But construction and funds came to a halt during COVID. So, we supported them during COVID. We sent money for food and clothes and just basic necessities, because all the boys who lived at the home had to be sent back to their very remote villages during COVID. And, they were very poor. So, the director hired a truck and, was delivering supplies to them during the pandemic. And then recently, in the last 6 months, they still hadn't been able to complete that house. And so I reached out to other Duchenne organizations that I know, and I asked if they'd be interested in collaborating so we could get this house built. And, the people in the Duchenne world are so amazing. And we got that house built in February. And so now there's a safe and accessible home for these boys and their families to gather together and to learn about resources. And it was so rewarding to do, and to have, I was just so blessed for these people that took my word for it, that this was a good idea, and that I'm gonna, really am gonna send their money to Nepal and build this house. And so, doing that helped me realize that I'm kind of in a unique position to do more, because I have these connections in the country now. I know these families, I know the director, and they know me and they trust me. And I have a whole team of guides and porters that I work with. So I thought, well, maybe I am in a position to do more. And that's why I decided to start Mission DMD Nepal. So I'm currently working on the strategic plan and the goals and the things that we're going to do to develop the program, whether we get the grant or not. I'm heading over in April to meet with Nirmal, who's the director of this home. And we're first in April just going to focus on basic needs and buy them wheelchairs and shower chairs. I'm bringing over some sling lifts so that the parents usually carry the boys around on their backs if they need to carry them, or if they need to transfer them. We're starting a registry the first in the country of Duchenne families, and it's so needed, because up until now it's just been word of mouth. Like, parents hear, oh, we hear that there's this home near Kathmandu, and then they kind of travel there and see what's up and if it's something that can help them. And Nirmal recently, the director recently contacted me about a family that he found in a village not too far from him, but a pretty remote village, that had 3 boys with Duchenne. And 9, 12, and 17. And, Duchenne, it's a genetic disorder, and moms can be carriers or not. But if you're a carrier, you have a 50% chance of having more than one son with Duchenne. So this family has 3 boys, never been to school. Both of their parents abandoned them, being raised by their elderly grandmother. They can't go to school because school is a rocky trail that, is 2 miles away. And so I'm hoping to meet with them in April and figure out what this family needs. And it's just a tiny small thing because there's so much need, but that's one of the things that we're going to be doing in Nepal as we begin the registry. We're going to begin planning to purchase a van so that the team at the home can go out and find these families and give them the information, and also go out and pick up the boys and bring them back to the center. Some of them might live there. Some of them might just come for a week. Some of the families might just come for a weekend. It's whatever they want to do and feel comfortable doing. We're going to get some technology in the home for them because most of these boys don't go to school. And they're pretty isolated from the outside world. I'm hoping to get a couple of PTs in there to teach the staff and the parents how to stretch these boys, keep them walking longer, keep them more comfortable longer. And if Mission DMD Nepal is successful, I would love to branch out into other countries and, do Mission DMD India and so on and so on. But, that's down the road. So like I said, Everest to Duchenne was going to just be a one-time deal, like one fundraiser that I did. But I realized that I could keep doing it. And the next year we raised $100,000 and we funded some really exciting research. We're funding a clinic for boys here in Worcester, Mass. But I can also help provide just these basic needs for these families in Nepal. And it seems like there are endless possibilities. It's super exciting to me. And recognition like this Greg Farrell Award really, inspires me to keep going and doing this. I don't need an award to do this, but it just feels like there's so many people who really believe in what I'm doing, and that, that's an incredible feeling. In general, recognition makes me feel uncomfortable. But what I realized after receiving this award was that it's not about me and my comfort, it's about what needs to get done. And so I'm just going to keep pushing forward. And this award in memory of Greg, who's an incredibly accomplished man who spent his life making the world a better place to live. This has given me the inspiration to keep going and, to keep trying to light little sparks along the way in my own way. Just thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you.
Wow, Tanya, that was amazing. So quickly, I'm Paul Herdman, and I run a small foundation in Delaware, and I was a former teacher and happened to be the little brother of somebody on your board, Louise, who I love just a little bit. But when I was listening to your comments, one of the things, and Andy and Nick, his sons, are on, and they might have a drink with you after and go into more depth. But one of the things that Greg explained one time, he was sitting up in his beautiful home up in the mountains, and I was talking to him about sort of how he kind of got from one place to another in terms of, starting a small thing in New York and then sort of becoming a national model. And he described it as being kind of like a frog on a pond, jumping from lily pad to lily pad. Like they would just figure out how to raise enough money to get the first thing going. And then they would say, all right, let's just jump. And they'd find the next chunk of resources and they'd build something bigger and more amazing. So it made me definitely think of those concentric circles that Thea brought out. My job is just to do some thank yous and some final thoughts before actually handing it off to my good friend Dennis Udall to close this out. But first of all, just wanted to say thank you to the donors that really made this possible. There's a handful of folks that contributed to this, and in the chat and a QR code that we're going to be sharing in just a minute, you'll be able to continue to expand the pie, and just know that every dollar is going towards actual more spark lighters like Tanya. None of it goes towards administrative costs. The folks that are from New York City Outward Bound are donating their time, as are all of us on the committee. The other thing is want to make sure you stay engaged. You got an email in order to come here. We'll continue to keep engaged with you and hope you do with us as well. And it's never too early to start thinking about nominating folks. We won't really open up the process until the fall formally, but start thinking about folks now. We had a great pool of candidates this year. We're over the moon with your selection, Tanya. But folks, continue to think about this because, as Thea mentioned, and I think you embodied, we're looking to take these these sparks and make them into a bonfire throughout the country and really the world. So very much excited about what you've done. And I want to pass it off to my dear friend, Dennis Udall, to close us out.
Hey everyone, so very inspiring. Oh gosh, Dennis Udall. I'm one of the original staff members of the New York City Outward Bound Center, and I also worked with Expeditionary Learning Outward Bound, and great to see so many familiar faces. So that's right. So that's it for this year's award presentation. We're so very touched that you joined us to honor Greg Farrell and the good work of Tanya and all of these nominees that we've had this year. You know, Greg was fond of quoting Kurt Hahn. I think he did it daily almost, perhaps. Kurt Hahn, as you know, is the founder of Outward Bound. And Kurt Hahn wrote once, and this is a quote of Greg's that he was quite fond of: "There's more in us than we know, if we could be made to see it." So in Greg's memory, let's take those words to heart. I'd invite us to, as we go out into the world, lighting sparks, living boldly, and leaving the world a better place. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next year. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Tanya.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Love to all. Congratulations, Tanya.
Thank you.